I want to bring to the stage, we have 2 chairs, we have 4 panelists. Something that you don't see very often in tech. I want to bring to the stage Jessica and Leslie to talk about the truth of motherhood in tech.
This is like the best reaction I've ever gotten on stage before, let's be real. Thank you. Got our waters. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to be reading off a few notes today, just in case my mommy brain kicks in. But I am Jessica Eggert, and this is Leslie Feinzag. And we're here today to talk about motherhood and technology. And so for us, we were talking about this just a little bit ago, just the ridiculous amount of articles and opinion articles and days in the life of, and the statistics that are coming out that really sometimes glorify motherhood and technology and then very often penalize us, making us think that we have to be able to do it all or choose one or the other. And so after our careers, we've had pretty successful careers, I would say, and I'm getting better at congratulating myself. And collectively 4 children, and then also a career switch into entrepreneurship for both of us. And we've also had hundreds of conversations with working moms, and we realized that the articles that are coming out and what we're reading about motherhood and technology and being a parent in technology and entrepreneurship really isn't the truth and really isn't what we've been finding. So before we get started really fast, we're going to do a whole little raise your hand thing. Can you raise your hand in here if you are a parent?
Oh, there's some.
Amazing. Can you raise your hand if you are considering parenthood in the future? And any of you in here who just work with a parent and aren't a parent yet? That you know of. Awesome. All right. Much fewer hands. And we do this because we think this conversation is going to benefit a lot of people, not just people who are parents right now, but people who are considering being parents and who want to be allies to parents in the workforce. So really quickly, I'll introduce myself, and then I'm going to have Leslie introduce herself. Again, my name is Jessica Eggert. I am the founder and CEO of Leg Up, and we actually create resources connecting working parents to out-of-home childcare. I also identify as a Black Latina woman, female, and a working mother of 2, a 6-year-old and this 3-week-old who hopefully won't wake up right now. And then Leslie.
Hi, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I am Leslie Feinzag. I'm the founder and CEO of the Female Founders Alliance, an organization that is a network of women and non-binary individuals, founders and leaders of highly scalable companies. And the reason you may not have heard of us is because we're primarily in secondary tech hubs, or as I like to call them, places where we can afford our homes and our engineers. But you are all welcome to find us online. You can join too. And this is Ruth. Say hi. Ruth is my second daughter. I immigrated to America 12 years ago from Costa Rica, single on a visa and a scholarship to go to business school. And then, I went to work in tech at Microsoft and then some startups, got a green card after a very, very torturous process. And then, met a nice man, got married. And then one day I discovered I was pregnant. And I lost that baby. I was working a very high-stress job at a very, very fast-moving startup, which I'm sure a lot of you know what that's like on the inside. So when I got pregnant again, I let my hormones get the better of me, and I quit my job. And even though for most parents, for most moms actually, not parents, when they quit their job to have a baby, it's generally an off-ramp, right? Like they kind of leave the workplace for a number of years, and then maybe they'll return, maybe they won't. For me, I decided that I wanted to start a company. And so I had my baby, I launched a company in the education technology space, and it was kind of getting some traction, and it was me in a basement, right? This like very bootstrap story. The parents loved it, and the kids loved it, and like I was doing really well. And then I went out and I started pitching investors. And this company that was inspired by my daughter, my older daughter, Dora, a very kind of clear story about targeting other parents, targeting other moms, all of a sudden I felt like instead of being the hot hire, right, like the highly qualified woman who can run your engineering team and your product team and like, went to Harvard on a scholarship and she's an immigrant, right, to a cute mom hawking a product from her basement. I remember investors calling me charming. Oh, Leslie, you're so charming. I know you think that's a compliment, but like that's actually really minimizing. I'm not charming, I'm investable. And so in the process of doing this and kind of getting this feedback that I didn't understand, I started an online group for other women who are going through that journey. And that's how the Female Founders Alliance was born. Fast forward 2 years, we have 6,000 members in the community or more. That's as of last checking. We run a national accelerator for women and non-binary founders. And we do events, all over America. Last year, the day before we started our accelerator, I took a pregnancy test, and guess what? Ruth was born. I find that life is really different. The first time that I was pregnant with Dora, I got asked to be on a panel. I was 6 months pregnant, and it was like Seattle Startup Week. And I remember thinking, you know what? In my entire career, I have never seen a pregnant woman on a tech stage, not once. I'd read about Marissa Mayer, but I never saw her out speaking in the world, right? Like with her big belly, because I think that like big pregnant belly is the most in-your-face reminder that I am, a woman. And so I thought to myself, if I ever have the privilege of getting on a stage and bringing my child, I hope you all tweet this out. Seriously, because I think that what's important is to remember that just like every other piece of your identity, this doesn't change how investable Jess is, or how investable I am, or how hireable. Mm-hmm. You tell them, Ruth.
That's amazing. And so we're just going to hop into some questions here. And I think, sorry, she's attached to me. Leslie and I were really excited to be able to do this, and I wanted to come in and interview her because she's had such an amazing career, and not only is the mother of 2 children as well while running this startup, but she helps hundreds, thousands, you heard, thousands of women, thousands of moms start companies and get hired and get invested in every single day. So Leslie, like you've mentioned, you have had and continue to have a very successful career. You also chose to have kids a little bit later in life. So what was that transition into working motherhood like for you?
I don't know what you mean. I'm not a day over 25.
Love you.
Wait, you laughed really loud. It's not okay. Yeah, I think for a lot of us, it's not a choice, right? Like women are having kids later and later in life. And I just happened to meet my now husband when I was 32. Guys, is it okay if I get up and pace?
Yeah.
I'm pacing. All right. All right, let's do this. I met my husband when I was 32. And so that's when you get to have babies. The important thing is that that's also when most people start their companies between 30 and 40 years old, and it's also when women are most likely to have babies, especially highly educated women. So it wasn't so much a choice as it was where I was in life. And I think it's really important for everybody to be able to make the choice when they want to not be forced to choose one over the other.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what about that transition, like mentally, into being a mom and in tech and an entrepreneur, a newer entrepreneur too?
Yeah, it's funny because I had this whole corporate career and then I went into startups and then I, got pregnant, quit my job, had a baby, and then I was like, oh my God, I have a baby, I don't have a job, I don't have a startup. Like, I'm basically unemployed calling myself an entrepreneur. It was a massive identity crisis. So for anybody who's had a baby, like, it was a huge identity crisis. It was like 6 months of postpartum depression. And it took a long time to find a new normal. I mean, I think you can speak to this too, right? Because like, you go through life seeing yourself one way, and then all of a sudden you are, there's this little thing that like depends on you for everything for their whole life, and all of a sudden you're not who you were before. So then who are you? And the hardest part about that was how I was perceived externally, right? Like, how did I change from being this like resume to being a mom that like you're not sure how committed she is, right? Like, you're not sure if she's gonna take a bunch of time off, or like she's not gonna like come to happy hour, so we can't really get to know her. Like, it really affects you. So I'm really lucky to have had the Female Founders Alliance really take off. And it lets me do things like this. It lets me like, I've been bringing Ruth to my sponsor meetings, to my VC meetings. It's kind of a power move because say no to that face. But I think it's a privilege to do that. Most moms today cannot do that. So that's why we're on stage today, right? Like, we talked about like talking about highly accomplished women, highly accomplished parents who can have kids and do all sorts of other things too.
Absolutely. I can definitely resonate with that. So I wasn't an entrepreneur with my first child. I was in tech, very male dominated, the only woman and definitely the only person of color at the table every single day. And went back to work, and my milk dried up within days because I was just so stressed out. And but I think that we're often dealing with our own guilt that we place on ourselves, but also the perception of how we feel others see us in the workplace, and not just as mothers. And I believe that my husband goes through it as well. He was so nervous he was able to take 6 weeks, and he went back after 3 and just decided to split it up. But it was like, what are they going to think of me? I have to get back to work. And it was like, well, this is what we deal with every day, and we don't get to hide it,
Yeah.
And so I think that guilt is something that we place on ourselves often as well, and we just really worry about how other people will perceive us.
Yeah, to be a working mom is to manage guilt, basically.
Yeah. Honestly. So I think one thing that's great is that you employ working moms as well. How do you create a culture of balance while you're still going 100 miles per hour?
Poorly. This is so hard. I try really hard because I know what I know what bad looks like from like prior jobs, right? So we have a lot. I'm the first one to have a baby while working at the Female Founders Alliance. And so there's no guide that says, this is how you take maternity leave when you're the CEO. Like, there's nothing, especially when you're like at a bootstrapped company, you're leading it. It's like a tiny team. We have 6 employees. Like, you can't really disappear entirely. So it's really hard to like model what that behavior looks like. We have a lot of open conversations. The baby comes to the office a lot. I actually find, and I know that this is not doable if I was not the CEO. So again, this is coming from a place of privilege, being able to bring the kid and not get fired because, I'm the boss. But what I do find is that when I bring her to the office, it reminds people why we're there. It reminds us why we do what we do. It reminds everybody to be a little bit kinder and to kind of put everything in perspective. So she's been really great that way. We work out of WeWork Labs. We have a national partnership with WeWork Labs. And one of the great things is they like outfitted the whole place for me. So now there's changing tables, every conference room, you can like lock it so that like you can pump anywhere, right? And just me like very aggressively being like, I'm bringing my baby to the office, like now makes it so that other people, so there's strollers and puppies and like everything. So it's really a privilege while at the same time being incredibly hard. I think everybody who raised their hand when you said, when you asked if there are parents in here, you will always feel like you're not being the best CEO because you have to spend time with your family, and then you always feel like you're being a crappy parent because you're trying to like work on your company. And if like managing that emotional challenge is the only way that you can like make it through. So like manage your own emotions, manage your own guilt, and like own the decision of how much time you spend on either side.
Yeah, and really at any level, right? We're
At all
constantly
levels.
feeling
Yeah.
balancing that career and also trying to be a good parent at the same time, and
Totally.
it's really hard. And I think one thing I realized while working in tech and working for a company and then also running a company while having children was I had to set really clear boundaries with myself, and it took a really long time for me to figure that out. So what kind of boundaries are you setting now in the workplace for yourself?
Not good ones. Not great. I mean, so I do. I don't go to networking events. 5 to 7 o'clock, happy hours. I just don't go to any of that. I go home at 5 every day, get my daughter from daycare, play with Ruth, do dinner, bath time, and bedtime, and that kind of like 5 to 8 is completely sacred in my family. And then weekends more and more are about spending time with family. But then as soon as the girls are down, everything else falls, right? Like go straight back to work. So that's kind of how I manage it. I really do think that like other things have to fall off your plate, right? So like, I mean, it's bad, but like a lot of time with friends, I don't spend as much time with friends. I don't spend as much time being active as I would like to. I don't travel nearly as much. I don't go to this type of thing very often. I don't like network at all. People, if they want to network, they have to come to me.
But you set priorities.
I do.
Right?
I do.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't make decisions, then like you deserve whatever happens to you. Like if you don't set your own, this is how I'm going to manage it, like everything that gets thrown at you is just going to control your life. So you have to kind of get ahead of it. And by the way, even as I say this, I don't do it well, right? Like we don't do it well.
It's a
We
work
just
in
try.
progress,
It's a
yeah.
work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question for you. How do you think we can be better allies to moms, as ourselves as moms
Yeah.
and other people to mothers in the workforce?
Yeah, so I don't know how many decision makers are here, but I think one really important thing is paternity leave. Or parental leave, actually. I think equal parental leave for everyone involved will immediately remove the stigma from people who can biologically carry a child that have that expectation. Is she going to quit? Right? Is she going to leave me? So if you have equal parental leave for everybody, then we are not at a disadvantage. And then all of a sudden, like over generations, that tends to fix a portion of the pay gap. It tends to fix a portion of the leadership gap. So that's one for decision makers out there. For everybody else, I think it's about, I mean, you should chime in too. I think it's about like not making assumptions about, right? Just like everything else, just not making assumptions, asking questions, helping out, and understanding that like our priorities are different. And then for the moms out there, I mean, I think, I would say ending the mommy wars, right? Like this stuff is really, 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 really hard without the added judgment of another mom thrown onto you. So whatever you chose to do with your pregnancy, whatever you chose to do with your career, I support you 1,000%, and I want you to throw that support right back. Whether I choose to use formula, thank you. Right, like whether I decide to like travel before my baby's vaccinated, which I'm kind of freaked out about right now. It's cool. Whether I choose to like take her to daycare and not stay home with her, or all of the opposite of the things that I just mentioned. I think that we have to be there for each other, and not just on Instagram, but like actually in real life every day. Yesterday, I got on an airplane and I sat next to a woman who works at Stripe. And it was Ruth's first flight. And she said, I have 2 kids, they're teenagers, let me help you. She played with Ruth. She mixed my formula, right? Like, she held my water, and she talked to me, and she like cooed with the baby even when this happened. And I am so grateful, right, for that support. So like if you get on an airplane and there's a kid and the kid is fussing, we feel worse than you do, right? So like just start with kindness for each other always, and I think that goes a very long way.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, we are running out of time. Thank you so much for agreeing, for pushing us to come on stage.
I can't believe we did this.
And to Melinda and Wayne for letting us do this really crazy
Thanks.
thing.
Thank you, Fran and Wayne.